This is an update, okay? So, about my CNA class. I finished my CNA class 4 weeks in class, Monday through Friday, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. Okay, I spent 2 hours every single day of those days just to get from my residence here to that location college campus at Eastfield. 2 hours, just shy of 2 hours, just about 2 hours on a bus, and then 2 hours back. Then, right after, there was a 3-week course I completed, which is a clinicals course. Skip, where you go on site. You go on site to the clinicals nursing home, and you don't get paid. And it's basically just like working in a real environment, but you don't get paid. It's clinicals experience, and you have to get a certain amount of hours to work there to finish the class and get a certificate. I finished those 3 classes. But during the class that I was there, I had to complete these quizzes on a laptop. And when I complete these quizzes on a laptop, I have to complete chapters 1, 2, and 3, then 4, 5, and 6, and 7, 8, 9. During the entire time, we did not read through this book, but maybe once or twice, just with a few paragraphs. This entire book. I personally read through this book when I got here. The entire time after class and at the library, I read through this entire book, and I've been skimming through it ever since. Yesterday I skimmed through the entire book again, rehearsing, looking at material to try to make me more successful to pass the test and make me that much more better of a CNA. Okay? So now that I have completed the class, I have now need to take a academic written test. There are 2 tests. A written test, which is basically a writing test or done on the computer, 60 questions, 90 minutes. Once that is passed, I get 3 chances to pass that. Once that is passed, I will then need to take a clinicals course. The clinicals doesn't have to be in order or anything before the written test. You just have to take 2 tests. Now, my clinicals is not until, it was until the 19th, but I rescheduled it sooner, but I don't know, I'm pretty sure I should be able to make it to it's really far from here, but it's not until August 2nd. Once I pass the clinicals, which is I go into a room, they tell me, okay, how do you do this type of skill as a CNA, and there's a evaluator in the room with another CNA, and they basically grade me. My skills whenever I make the bed, or like I brush somebody's teeth or feed them or change their bed sheets, whatever, and there's a certain procedure you got to do it. There's 3 skills that they pick out of 20, a little over, I think it's 22 skills. They choose 3 for me to do randomly, and the other one is basically indirect talking, basically how do you address safety, address a patient. The other one's like washing hands, okay? Hopefully it's going to be really easy. I've been told that it was, but I can tell you right now, as far as I've taken the test, before I get any further, I took the exams on. I took the. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, here we go. When I was in class, I had to take a 60 Dallas at DallasCollege.website. I have to go and complete these quizzes. While I was in class in the first 4 weeks, we go 1 week, take a quiz, 1 week we take a quiz, and at the end of the class, we took a 60-question quiz. It's exactly like the test. I mean, it's 60 questions, and you get 90 minutes. Okay, 90 minutes, 60 questions. It's the same thing, 60 questions, 90 minutes at the real test. And I scored, and the final quiz that I took went over the entire class, inside the classroom, everything that was told, which this was the poorest of education of any teaching that I've ever experienced. I hope to God that there was cameras or this was something else, but I'll have to make another video of what that experience was like. But I took the quiz, and I scored 60 questions, and I made an 87. I got a B plus on this, okay? That's just like the test, okay? So tomorrow, I got to take the real test. So, at Prometric, it's located here, not too far from here. I'm going to be hopefully successfully passing the test. Today, this is a sheet that was given to me during class, along with the other students. It's a Prometric bulletin candidate information sheet. How to register for the test, all kinds of, how many questions, the fees, how much they cost per test, retaking the test. I get 3 chances to take each test. 3 chances to fail the clinicals, 3 chances to fail the academic written test. The written test is multiple choice questions, okay? And on this sheet, I'm also, before I get any further, well, let me finish what I'm saying first. This sheet right here, it comes with a 50 question quiz. It's a 50, you can see that, it's a written knowledge test. So you can see that it's a test, okay? I'm sorry, I think that's the wrong page there. Here we go. Okay, so this is, as you can see, this is a sample test, 50 questions. Okay, this is less than the test I took here, but this is on paper. I noticed that when they're printing on here, there's yellow stripes all the way across this, and I also noticed that some of the printing on here didn't seem to have been printed very well on here, like there was some sort of mistakes or something like that. And one of the ways I can tell, so you can see this, it goes 49, 48, and then there's a 48 right there in the middle of nowhere. So whoever did this seems to have not been paying attention, but all the multiple choice questions, answers are right there. So I just took this test early this morning, okay? About noon. I took this test, 50 questions, just to see how I would do. The questions on this here were much more difficult, and they were very different type of questions than any of the questions I even took at the Dallas College website. Now I don't know if somebody, could have done something to this or not, but I took this test and I barely passed with a 74. I missed 13 questions, which about 2 of them, I probably could have chosen a better question. I probably could have chosen something else better, but there's a lot of other stuff that's going on with stress and whatnot. But I did pass this. I got a 74. And I went over it, and so I circled all the answers, correct answers on here. I went over it and I looked, so then that way I have something to look over so that it'll make me that much more successful. Okay? So that is bad news. This makes me think that I'm not going to be able to pass not only just the written, but the skills test. The entire class, from me going to class and paying for the books and paying for vaccines that I have, immunization vaccines I have to take, and these other tests, hepatitis C, just to even be in the class, I spent close to $500 just to go to this class. That's not even mentioning the money that I've had to spend personally on going to a restaurant to get something to eat while I'm on the road, because I have no choice. I have to spend more money than I have. This book was never even mentioned at all, okay? During the entire class that I was in this class, I saw, I think, 2 students with this book, and it wasn't until the last week of class. Nobody even put it on their desk. Nobody did. They just had a journal and took notes, okay? But this book also, I purchased it with this book. this was a requirement, I was told, in order to be in the class. $50. So I spent, I think, like probably 8 hours the last 4 or 5 days, even though I completed class last week, at the college, going through these multiple choice questions and basically rehearsing all over again the information. I went and Googled the correct answers, and I'm going to have an answer book to everything. I'm going to eventually finish this book, but I even finished, I finished a whole chapter on this, but my test is tomorrow. Even if I pass this test, I'm going to complete this book, okay? So I say this because I don't know what is going on with the unbelievable amount of harassment and things that are happening. I've made phone calls to the Prometric Center, which is who schedules the company that does the test, and the people that are tapping my phone are rewiring my phone calls. And when I even reach out to someone, they're very vile and nasty to me, and like letting me know we're gonna do like. They very despise me. They don't like me. They want to sabotage me. It's no good vibes at all. It's very dark energy, very bad. I always stay polite over the phone. Now, I'm going to go there and take the test. I hope to God that I can pass it, because it cost me a fortune. This clinical skills test is $89. Okay, I'm on a dollar menu budget. I don't have any money to be able to spend. So, I'm making this video because I have put probably, like an extra, at least an extra 10 to 14 days when I'm out of class, just going to the library and studying here. I've spent 7 or 8 hours on a Saturday just going over videos and clinicals, because when we were in that class, the class was so poorly taught. And when you have people despise you, and when you have reasons for people that don't want to, don't like you, and it's very personal, they're going to make sure that everything that happens in that class is to make sure that it's confusing, that they sabotage the test and everything, not to be successful. And my personal belief, nobody should ever be in a nurse career if you're going to be sabotaging anybody for academics like that. Because I'm going to be working in a field where I'm going to be changing diapers, and I have been changing diapers. I'm going to be wiping people clean, people that are disabled, very disabled, feeding people that are very disabled. There's a high demand in CNAs specifically, because nobody really wants to do those types of jobs. You work in an environment where people are very sick, very old, very fragile, their families don't visit them, and there's crying, there's a lot of stuff, but it's a compassionate job to help others. I'm going to be working a job, and the way that I have been, when I was working in clinicals, I treat them all fairly equal. I don't care if they're transgenders, I don't care if they're gay, I don't care if they're Chinese, I don't care of any ethnicity, race that they are. I treat everybody the same when I'm working in this environment. And I want to make sure that I address this the best way that I can, to be the best CNA that I can. And for those that don't know already prior, I've spent 7 years from the age of 13 to about 19 years old going to nursing homes, just visiting my father, who had dementia, really bad dementia. And I saw the decline, and I met many patients there. I used to bring also with my little brother, we used to bring dogs, so we would entertain the residents to keep them company and made them feel like life was still important. And do something very nice to those that are in need, and now depend on a younger generation to take care of them and give them dignity and value of human life. And that's what I'm doing. So I ask this because I don't know what the circumstances exactly is. but I could never express this, that whoever's watching my videos on Facebook, they don't seem to want to pay attention or look, or I don't know if somebody's hacked into the Facebook, preventing them from ever looking at the videos and postings that I've made about the electronic devices that have severely been abusing me violently. And but I have those videos on there on my Facebook, but everything that I post on Facebook seems to be watched by a lot of people. I can't go in I'm having a lot of trouble going to grocery stores with my mother's sister, who's our identical triplet, and they're targeting her while I'm there. It is a chaos of hatred. When you get that number of people involved, they just start gossiping and they start sending bad people in every direction toward me and my mother. My mother's twin. My mother's identical triplet. My mother's very old and very fragile, and I can't explain this enough, the hatred of what they're doing. My mother wants me to pass this class. I've now bought a lot of medical, I bought, thermometers, a blood pressure machine, a diabetic device so that you can check your blood sugar, because my mother has diabetes, and various different types of medical supplies. I put them in a bag so my mother can take care of herself, and my other family members can kind of help watch over her, including myself. But my mother's telling me that, she wants me to pass this class as well, but you don't understand the level of control that people are having over my mother, because she's such in a vulnerable state. And the more that they have me out of this picture, the more they start assigning who's in charge and control over her. And this is exactly what they're doing. So I want to make this video as clear as I can that I have the best of dreams to further my education in the medical field. I have studied a tremendous for a class that's pretty easy. This class is a very easy class. It's a simple, easy class that does not take that much amount of studying. The only reason it takes this much is because the class is just so poorly taught. When I mean this, in my opinion, I don't even believe that this teacher was a registered nurse at all. Because first they told me that they were an RN, a registered nurse. Then they told me that they were an LVN when we got to clinicals. And those are two different types of titles. An LVN is 18 to 12 months, and RN is a bachelor's degree. So, like I said, I hope to God, and I'm praying that I can pass this class. But the more that I'm more worried about than anything is probably the clinicals. The clinicals is not going to be so easy because the frustration of this situation is I feel that I know this class couldn't have been more sabotaging by having students not being able to take the test. Why would you not want to take the test right after class as opposed to wait 3 weeks of clinicals and then take the test, because you can forget a lot of the material you just learned. It's always best to do that. So I scheduled for the test after clinicals. But when we're at clinicals, we're supposed to be practicing a lot of the skills that we're even learning in class. And as jaded as the information was, and we didn't do any of that. I think I used one gate skill. It was very poorly. It was just like sort of just being there and just kind of giving emotional support to everyone and just checking in on everybody. We really didn't do any of the skills that was required. Hardly anybody. They just talked about it at the table, and then we just signed off on it like we did. And that's apparently it was okay. So, but I'm praying to God that I can complete this. And I rescheduled my clinicals test for August 2nd, not August 19th. I did do it August 19th, but I didn't want to do it August 19th because if I pass the clinicals August 2nd, I'll be a certified CNA and I can immediately start working. The goal is I'm going to be able to start working if by the end of next week, by the end of next next Sunday. By this Sunday, not today's Sunday, but this Sunday coming up is the 2nd. If I pass the class, if I pass the clinicals test, I will be a certified nursing assistant and I can start working. First thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna do a PRN, which will allow me to work part-time, 2 or 3 days a week for a few hours a day, and at a nursing home or a rehabilitation center. That's what I'm going to be doing. But it's not to say that I won't pass tomorrow. It's not to say that I won't pass the clinicals on the 2nd. One thing that I want to say about these clinicals, for those that don't know about kind of what's going on with this circumstances, there is a huge situation that I've had to deal with about whoever's hacking into my accounts. Okay, and this is some of the most frightening shit that you can imagine. Okay, so I'm logging into my account right now, and as you can see this right here, this is Prometric website, the company that does all the testing, and the test is at 9:30. Okay, so do you see that right there, where you see the site and then that's the times it's scheduled? Well, I can schedule this, and we'll just there's a list. If you look, there's a list, right? There's a list of places. There's a list of places that you can go to. Okay, so wherever you choose a list, there's also a list of places, so you can see, right? You can see the different times you can choose. Yesterday when I was scheduling the test, I had to reschedule it today, but yesterday when I scheduled the test, I was going through this and there was nothing available for August. Then all of a sudden, August 19th shows up. And I was like, I better go ahead and take it, because then I'm not going to be able to take the test all month. Then all of a sudden, August 2nd shows up. The one on August 2nd, the location in this area is really, really far from here. It's in Little Elm. That is about a 40-minute drive from here. 35 to 40-minute drive from here to get there. And it's at 9:30 in the morning on a Sunday. I truly believe this. I know somebody's doing this on purpose. Why is it that there's a Sunday schedule, Monday through Friday? They could be also scheduled to places that are just down the street from me that I can go to. There's a number of places. There's a number of places that I should be able to go to, right? Okay, let me go ahead and there's a number of places that I can go to. Like the closest one here, which is the Allied Career Institute. That's the closest center. Why is it that I can't schedule something in the next couple of days? Telling me the next scheduled possible date is the 24th of August. Other than that, you're telling me that the entire time of this whole circumstance, of everything that's going on, you have nothing available. You're that busy. There's no open doors for people to come in and take a test. It didn't seem. Now, I was looking on this website, this scheduling form, and I'm telling you, as I was on this website, they were changing the schedules and they were changing what was available to me. And there's literally like only one or two choices. And just up until yesterday, there was August 2nd. There's one until next week. It was last week that I completed my clinicals. This past Tuesday, which was a week ago, which is reasonable, August 2nd. But why do I have to wait 3 weeks after almost 4 weeks that I have to wait a whole month? I'm out of school. I finished clinicals. I finished my inside class, that I was supposed to. I did my hours, and I have to wait a whole month to take the clinicals after I've been out of class for a whole month. It's because the longer that they wait, the longer it is and harder it is going to be likely for me to pass. And this is a sabotaging situation that I'm talking about, because not only is the information, though I have to keep studying for something that I already know, but it's a lingering situation when I know I just need to go in there and pass the test. Nobody remembers everything you learn when you go get a job, even when you're a nurse or a CNA, even, because you just have to pass the exam. But having the idea that I have, have to wait a whole month, and not only that, one of the reasons they're doing this, whoever's controlling this, is I have to book a Uber trip or a Lyft, like a Lyft or a Uber. A Lyft and Uber from here, my address is $100. I'm not kidding. It's $100 just one way there. It's far north. I don't want to go that far north. So what I have to do is I use paratransit to get me the closest to the edge of the boundary line where it is allowed to drop me off. I get dropped off there, and then I book a Lyft or Uber car to then take me the rest of the distance. And from that distance there, it's fucking $30 one way there. And then it's another $30 on my way back. Like, this is insane. Like, this is what this is going to cost me just to arrive at the test. This is not saying if I'm going to pass this. Like, the test itself is $89. For me to even get to that location and back home, it's literally going to cost me close to like another $80. It's going to cost me close to like $30 at $60. I'll probably have to get something to eat, right? So it's going to cost me about roughly about $70, because I don't know, the prices change and they could change. Most likely it'll be more expensive by the time August 2nd arrives. But this is how they try to drain my financial wallet. This is how they sort of make it difficult. But like I said, I don't know what to expect. I'm praying to God they're not going to sabotage me. I know that they are. I've come across so many people that are sabotaging me, that like I went to the food pantry and like they're saying shit to me, I know what they mean, and sort of antagonizing it. I've been in many environments that people don't want to be successful. Remember that this is a job that a lot of people don't want to do. This is not a job that apparently is available for a lot of people to do. Somebody's shooting me right now with something on my arm. But like I said, this is a job that I have to be giving compassion to people that are dying, people that are going to have cancer. I'm a prior cancer patient. People that are missing limbs, that are in treatment centers, and I'm going to be caring for them. And it is very insulting, and I think one of the most disrespectful things to be pursuing a career that has to be in this type of field of work, and someone denying me the right to go to school or be successful. This is a job that a lot of people don't want to do, and some of this class that we learned a little bit about post-mortem, which is when people are deceased. And when someone is deceased, it was very lightly spoken of, but we just slightly addressed it, and because it does happen in nursing homes, and whether it's whatever natural causes and whatever that is, to just contact the nurse. It's a very it's a sensitive position, and I want to do the best that I can. So I'm hoping that I'm a prior cancer patient, so I know that whole route. I know that entire, I was very young when it happened. I'm 42 years old, and I've been homeless on the streets for about 7 or 8 years. And about 4 of those years were entirely living underneath bridges, parks, sleeping on the sidewalks, next to dumpsters, sleeping in bathrooms, sleeping in wooded areas, traveling all across the United States, sleeping in empty warehouses, empty offices, and dirty alleys, people spitting at me, people throwing trash at me. Nobody would allow me to work. And here I am, about to complete a CNA class to give compassion to someone who may very well could have seen me out in the streets when I was homeless, and could have been that person that was spitting at me, or throwing trash at me, or trying to do anything to make my life miserable and deny me any human rights. But as Jesus said, love our enemies, and let God deal with it, and let Jesus deal with whatever punishment would be dealt with in an afterlife, and just focus on God's and Jesus' glory. And that's what I'm doing. I pray to God that the correct people are watching this video. I take this job very serious. I take this class very serious to learn as much as I can to be the best I can, because I have a long road of education after this that I'm going to need to do, and this is just the beginning of it. So like I said, I'll post updates soon. I'm praying to God that I can pass and make this class successful tomorrow, and I'll post updates.